Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
And ladies and gentlemen, it is back. NFL football training camp, step one, as we head back to the NFL regular season in just a little over a month now, as training camp has opened up for the Philadelphia Eagles. Thursday this week, all report to training camp. And I can't wait for the NFL season. Preseason is upon us in a couple of weeks, and we got Eagles stories to talk about. Doug Pederson spoke Monday. It seemed like a different kind of Doug Pederson handling the press conference, a little more concise in how he talked to the media. And meanwhile, is there a dream alive of the 76ers perhaps getting LeBron James, with Kyrie Irving having a falling out and wanting to be traded from Cleveland? Who knows? We'll discuss on the Tyler Werner Show.
And now, here's Tyler Werner.
Yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tyler Werner Show. As we are now in the midst of training camp going on here with the Philadelphia Eagles. Football season is finally back here, in essence, and we're discussing it on the Tyler Werner Show today. And a lot of which what the Eagles are doing, kind of the lead up to training camp. Some guys, like Fletcher Cox, for instance. Oh my God! I don't know who heard this. Is it? I mean, you know, there was the OTA stuff, but a couple weeks ago on his Twitter account, Fletcher Cox's Twitter account, Ike Reese, I guess, commented, 3 weeks or whatever until the full Eagles squad reports to training camp or whatever. And Fletcher Cox is like, don't remind me, Maine, or whatever. He put M-A-N-E or whatever that means. And, it's like, oh my God. Are we serious, Fletcher? Come on. You gotta, if you're an NFL football player, you're making this kind of money. You have that kind of talent. Come on. You gotta be looking forward to this time. You gotta be stoked for training camp. I don't care, you had the last 6 months off or whatever, and yeah, I'm sure that's great. I mean, I know he didn't do. It's not that he did nothing football all that time, but come on. It's training. You got to get back in gear here. Listen to me. Listen to, football fans all over the place. Finally, the wait is over. And, as much as I enjoy summer month, the earlier part of summer, the lead-in from May, June, first half of July, without any significant football activities after the draft, of course, in late April. Football, it just reels us back in during the latter part of the summer that we're entering here as we're approaching August and we're approaching the preseason. And it's just, I just kind of blanch that Fletcher Cox, with that kind of potential talent he has, would not be stoked about training camp. But that's just me. I know Carson Wentz, it sounds like he's excited to be back. Listening to him a little bit. Discuss as everybody reports Thursday. All veterans, everybody. Others reported Monday. So, we're kind of back in the groove here. And of course, as we go through preseason, the roster is going to whittle down. There are some injuries. We're going to listen to Doug Pederson today because I got to say, I mean, as far as storylines heading into this Eagles season, I mean, perhaps number one at the top is the development of Carson Wentz. Year 2, how's he going to fare out? Is he going to make that leap to maybe not where he's a bona fide Pro Bowler this year, and he's going to be in that elite top 5 or 6 class or whatever, up there almost with, behind Brady and Rodgers. I'm not saying, but is he going to make that leap where he's in that vicinity, where he's maybe a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? Where he leaves us thinking, yes, he's the franchise quarterback. Last year, I mean, again, it's unfair and hard to evaluate him totally with the slop at receiver last year on the outside. This year, full offensive line intact. Jason Peters, I mean, he rides again. Of course, Lane Johnson is back and better stay clean. And be aware of whatever is in whatever substances he's taking, so that he gets drug tested or whatever, he doesn't get a third strike. All right? You got a more complete running back core with LeGarrette Blount. I know there's question marks with him. At this age, after the production he had last year, I mean, can he still, carry the load at running back for this Eagles team? Ryan Matthews, we suspect, is going to be traded soon. And you still got Sproles as a change-up guy. Smallwood, Donnell Pumphrey. I mean, we'll see how that all plays out at running back, because it appears they have like 6 technically right now on the right, and of course that's going to get whittled down to 3, 4 guys if you want to count one of them who's probably going to be on the practice squad or whatever. So Carson Wentz, he's got seemingly, full ammunition in the chamber, if that makes sense, as far as weaponry is concerned. Because, needless to say, Alshon Jeffrey at wide receiver, Torrey Smith on the outside, that's an improvement. There is that trade speculation with Jordan Matthews, who's been a bit banged up. A little bit of tendonitis. We'll discuss. And certainly Doug Pederson, to some extent, we'll discuss. But like I was saying, Carson Wentz, story number 1. His development, without question. And we're going to see how it plays out this year. And if not story number 1, story number 2, the coach, Doug Pederson. So at the end of the day, the most important position on the field is quarterback, perhaps story number 1. Next, probably the coach. You got to go with the coach. And Doug Pederson in his development, being his second year here with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know, again, it kind of comes to the whole thing where, year 1, if you will, rookie campaign as head coach. So it's not, I guess, fair to totally evaluate him, although I would argue that there were times where any head coach should not be making some of the kind of decisions that he made last season at some points. That may have cost the Eagles a couple of games, but at the end of the day, we kind of wiped the slate clean for Doug Pederson in year 2. Because That's just the way it is. Because who knows? This year, we got to evaluate it. We got to see, maybe this year, there are a couple of important, critical game decisions he makes, or play calls on offense, that perhaps win the Eagles a couple of more games. And then that's where, things that's where good or great NFL coaches separate themselves from the pack. Now, whether or not Doug Pederson accomplishes something like that this year, where this team say they finish, say they're going to finish 9-7. Say they perhaps finish 10-6, 11-5, and you look back through the season, and it's like, well, you know why they won that game? Because, obviously the players got to execute. Carson Wentz has to make throws. Nelson Aguilar, Torrey Smith, what have you, got to make catches. Linemen, they got to make those blocks on, and needless, players on defense got to make the plays on defense they need to make. But if you can recognize, like, some of the things Bill Belichick does, some of the calls he makes, he doesn't really call the plays, but in-game adjustments he makes, and that his coaching staff makes, it's just, sometimes you can trace certain close victories back to stellar coaching decisions. And who knows, maybe Doug Pederson accomplishes something like that this year.
Trust the process.
Where he makes, in a game or two, it's like, you know what? Because Doug Pederson made a call like that in that game situation, and it put the players in a better position to win, if I can use an Andy Reid cliche there, in a sense.
Time's yours.
Putting the players in a better position to win, then maybe, could Doug Pederson accomplish that this year? Something like that. And maybe not. Maybe they finish 9-7, right where we think they're going to finish, or where I think they're going to finish, and I think a lot of people think they're going to finish on the cusp of the playoffs, but not quite enough to make it. In what is, to me, looking like an NFC that's going to be very competitive. I don't think it's going to be very top heavy. And I feel like I've said this before, but I don't see anybody separating themselves from the pack as far, I don't know, is there anybody that's going to win 12 or more games even? I don't know. Maybe the Packers have a chance. The Cowboys, they're not going to win 13 again. I don't think they're going to win. Maybe the Giants might have a chance to win 12. Packers, maybe. NFC West, I don't know. Maybe the Falcons have a chance to win 12. But other than that, I see a lot of 10-6, 11-5 teams. And the Eagles, at 9-7, they're right there. But again, could Carson Wentz make a play or two that pushes them up? Could Doug Pederson make a play or two or a call or two, I should say, because he's not out there making the plays, but you know what I mean. That's what we're going to be looking. Carson Wentz, number 1 story. Doug Pederson, number 2 story. Now, I gotta say too. In some ways, to me, Doug Pederson is almost a number one story, like 1 and 1A because I feel as though, like, I have confidence that Carson Wentz is the franchise quarterback here. That he's not going to go anywhere. That he has the potential. Now, whether or not he wins a Super Bowl or more remains to be seen. But never, like, he's not, like, I don't see him, getting traded or whatever. Especially now that he's got more of a team around him. More of an offense around him. That he's going to be better. And that he's not going to make a lot of the rookie mistakes he made last year. Which I'm glad because, again, this is why I was saying from the get-go. They drafted him number 2 overall. To me, he's got to play that first year, and he did. Originally, he wasn't going to, but he ended up playing. And now, to me, he's got a year of in-game experience. He's a bit ahead of the curve, I think. Rather than him kind of essentially being a rookie this year, playing his first season. Now he's got that year under his belt. Now he's got a decent offensive core around him. Doug Pederson again. I don't know if I'm as confident. Because, again, no one was really, other than Andy Reid endorsing this guy, no one else was interviewing him. And then last year, again, you just saw something like, was he really ready for that next step? I don't know. So I think, to me, Doug Pederson is more of a variable. Whereas Carson Wentz, I think, I feel confident that Carson Wentz is the guy. Now, whether or not he's, confident as a good franchise quarterback or great remains to be seen. I think he's, right now, no matter what, he's good. Let's see this year if he takes that step from good to great, perhaps. I mean, some would say, well, his stats, he was more like average, mediocre, or whatever. His rookie quarterback, again, not a totally fair evaluation. This year is going to be more of a fair evaluation year. If he throws more than 30 touchdowns, if he throws for 4,000 or more yards, if he has like a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. That's the logical step to me that I'm looking for with this team. Doug Pederson again. I don't know. There's more variables at work to me with him. He's a bit more of a question mark. And of course, he kind of put a target on his back. When last week or so ago he said that there's more talent on this team than the Packers team in the 90s that he played for with Brett Favre back then that was winning Super Bowls, that was playing then. That's what he said. Now, while we can sit here and say, that's silly and foolish to say, maybe it's one of those things as like a motivational kicker for his players. Like, this is how good we should be, or whatever. I don't know. But regardless of which, by saying that puts extra pressure on Doug Pederson to succeed. Another 7-9 season this year, Doug Pederson's fired. Or at least that's how it should be. Because if you've got that kind of talent, you better be on the upward trajectory. You better be succeeding this year with that kind of talent, supposedly. And if they don't, barring being ravaged by all kinds of injuries, Doug Pederson looks like a fool. And will essentially be, eating his own words. So, we'll listen to what he has to say in the press conference. Because I believe, he seemed more concise, less, struggling for words and whatnot.
Gosh, it went great.
He seemed a little more concise, like less like he's looking for words to say, and he sounded more concise. And I don't know, is it maybe a sign of things to come? Maybe it's Doug Pederson here year 2, for lack of better terminology, seemed to have his act together better. Not to put him down of last year, but does he seem to have things under... does he seem more in control of what he's doing? Seem more prepared? Like he's been down this road before? We'll discuss on the other side, right here on the Tyler Werner Show. We will come back with more right after this. Stay tuned for more.
It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it or not. You can choose to panic about your situation or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting.
RELAX. Relax.
You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
The champion of game day catering is the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show, Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
We prepare our balls over time, and that's the essence of the preparation.
On top of that, another trademark of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs is Brady's signature rubbing process.
When I pick balls out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect. What is a concern is the texture of the balls, and again, that's the point that Tom hit on hard.
The champion of all game day catering dishes is Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show.
Oh yes, before you know it, it'll be back. The NFL theme music presenting the games here on, well, that being the Fox theme, but you get my drift. We're going to have NFL action coming up. It's hard to, it comes and it goes, and then it comes back, and you just can't wait for it. And, in conjunction with football, so a little later down the road, I mean, needless to say, with the Sixers, we're going to have an exciting season of basketball ahead of us now, where the Sixers team probably makes the playoffs as maybe a 6th seed, and we start seeing an upward trajectory with them. I think that's kind of a given at this point. And while it might be kind of a pipe dream, I mean, what would make it more exciting than perhaps LeBron James coming here to the Philadelphia 76ers? And whether or not that would happen remains to be seen. But what would make it more exciting than that? As a short detour here, we all know there's been a bit of a Kyrie Irving, LeBron James feud to some extent or another. And I mean, Kyrie, I don't know if this has been brewing for a long time. I mean, it seems like there's some hints that maybe for a while he hasn't been happy, but I mean, I don't know what I don't know what's totally going through the guy's head. How he has the goal. I mean, listen. You got the best player in your team over there. Like, to me, it was one thing when LeBron James left Miami to go back to Cleveland, when it's like other players at the time were kind of shot. Like Dwayne Wade, they were showing signs, whereas LeBron was like carrying the team. And now it's like LeBron, still, the Cavs wouldn't really be that. They wouldn't really be that championship contender to begin with if LeBron James was not there. And Kyrie is just unhappy. LeBron James, I guess, was like kind of blindsided by this, because supposedly Kyrie has told other players he wasn't having, that he wanted to, and of course he wants to get traded now, and LeBron was kind of blindsided by this. Well, Irving's like kind of LeBron's right-hand man. And, you know, this would kind of be a bit of a blow to the Cavaliers. Not as much of a blow, though, as if LeBron wanted out of Cleveland for nothing. But Kyrie, I mean, he has to be traded. Is basically what he's saying. You know, he can't just walk out at free agency or whatever. Now, LeBron, this kind of takes some of that. Like, there were rumors that, what if LeBron might want to leave Cleveland now or something. Now that Kyrie, it's no rumor that Kyrie, it's nothing but in stone that Kyrie wants out of Cleveland, whereas LeBron, it was just kind of on the rumor mill. This kind of takes those that heat away from LeBron. Meanwhile, this might make LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers organization a little more driven, in a sense. That Kyrie, he just wants to live. Well, LeBron, LeBron tweeted something like #enjoying my summer when it came to Stephen A. Smith's report about, LeBron, I guess, perhaps getting a scuffle. Yeah, basically, James denied a report that he is unhappy with Irving's request and would be tempted to beat his ass given the opportunity. Basically, James responded, #NotFactsPeople, boo, get another source, #enjoy my summer, #you do the same. So, as of Monday, the news that Irving would like to leave has provided a welcome boost of motivation, not only for James, but the entire Cavaliers organization. For James to prove he can win without Irving, and motivation that the Cavs might have been waning after losing 2 of 3 times to the Golden State Warriors, who then added to their arsenal via free agency. Irving has provided both a reason and a means to add fresh, hungry talent to a core that has stayed intact for the last 3 years. So, I don't know. Whether or not that really keeps the pipe dream alive of James coming to the Sixers, I mean, I guess that remains to be seen, really. Maybe next year LeBron James opts out or something goes somewhere else. I don't know. And maybe the Sixers at that time. I mean, if you could just bring LeBron here for nothing, I mean, you got to do it without question. Now, trading Ben Simmons for, I don't agree with that, because Simmons and these guys you project have many years ahead of them. Whereas LeBron, you kind of maybe 3 good elite years of elite basketball left. You're kind of wondering. He's played over 1,000 NBA games, so. But if you can bring LeBron here for free for a couple, yeah, absolutely. All right, so moving back to the football talk. Doug Pederson press conference. Let's get to it. Doug Pederson spoke Monday to the media, addressed the media, kind of in some cases with addressing injury report, giving away more specifics. I mean, kind of just saying, why don't you ask the medical staff about it? Like, Doug Pederson showing a little bit more, putting the hammer down in a sense.
That is why keep chopping the wood.
So let's hear some of what Doug Pederson had to say. Well, actually, I guess this is the full 10 minutes or so. We'll take a listen in from what Doug Pederson had to say Monday when discussing the Eagles in training camp as we head in to the preseason in just a couple of weeks.
Good morning. Good morning. Warm? I saw nobody sitting down, so that's a good thing. All right, go ahead.
What is Jordan Hicks' specific injury? What procedure did he have? What happened with him?
Hand. Had a minor procedure. You'd have to talk to our doctors and Chris on the actual, exactly what it was. He'll be limited to start camp. He's a veteran player, understands his role. I'm not going to rush him out there and try to keep re-injuring that thing, but at the same time, still want to go through, our individuals, our 7-on-7s, and then just limit him, as he gets healthy.
Was it a broken bone?
A broken bone? Yeah. In his hand? Yeah. It was.
Why didn't DGB work out here?
First of all, I just want to say with DGB, I can appreciate everything, that he did last year. It was a coming in late in camp and picking up our system and doing the things he did for us and also with the addition of some of our young guys coming up this spring, we just felt like it was in his interest and our best interest to let him try to find another suitor, another team, and to keep developing our younger guys in that role.
Tony Gratz was interesting. He's got a lot of experience. He was one of your few corners who had NFL experience. What went into that decision, and how do you feel about the lack of experience at corner?
Well, again, it's a position that we continued to look, even outside to as we do every position. But as you know, we're going to continue to look and try to bring in guys if we can, and just create as much competition at that spot. It's obviously it's a spot that we're going to keep our eye on, throughout camp, but now it gives a couple of our younger guys, Jalen Mills and guys like that a chance to really get in here and get valuable reps.
Where does Ron Brooks fit throughout this? He's cleared, he's healthy and everything?
He's cleared, he's healthy. He's another one that we're going to continue to monitor each day. Again, it's not one I want to rush back out there, veteran player, but at the same time, he's right there in the mix. He's obviously our nickel defender, nickel corner, and just got to make sure that he's again 100% each and every day before we proceed with anything further with him.
Extra Jordan Matthews is still going to be limited. Is this lingering longer than you expected? And are you concerned about stretching into the season?
I'm not concerned. I know Jordan's work ethic. I know the type of person and player that he is. We just got to stay on top of it. Obviously, he's been rehabbing all spring, all summer. He's been up here. He was in North Dakota with the guys, and just got to, again, another one that we'll just monitor as we go. Again, we don't really play a game for a long time, so I'm not concerned with.
What's wrong with his knee?
Nothing. Just rehabbing it and just keeping it healthy.
So wait, so you're holding him out of practice? You held him out of practice, but he didn't practice spring. He didn't practice.
He didn't practice. That's right.
I mean, there's got to be more something wrong with his knee than you just said nothing if he's not practicing.
Well, you can ask Uzi, you can ask our doctors. I'm not a medical guy, so you can ask those questions to them.
Doug, when you said that this team could possibly got more talent than the Packers team that you're on and went to the Super Bowl, does that mean this team should be a playoff team now?
Did you listen to the rest of the quote?
Yeah.
What'd I say? It has to come together. You got to have a coaching staff. Everybody's got to gel. It takes more than talent. I feel like we got talented players on this roster. I don't want to put us in a box and say we can't do this or can't do that. The season hasn't started yet. I'm excited about the guys we have, the new additions, the draft picks, the free agents. I think they've helped our roster. They've helped, adding some talent around Carson was important for us this spring. We've been able to do that. And then just mixing all that together. It takes a coaching staff, it takes leadership from the top, it takes, egos have to be put aside, and we have to come out here every single day and work hard. I was on those teams in the 1990s and went to 2 Super Bowls back-to-back with the Packers. And so, I've seen what it takes. And I just got to make sure that we're doing those same things here to get us eventually to that game.
Who are the first-team quarterbacks and who's the first-team left guard?
I'm not going to get into roster positions right now. It's still too early in camp.
What was your impression of the rookies coming back today, the recall from what you installed in the spring in their conditioning?
Well, it's warm, so the conditioning was actually pretty good from what I saw. Recall, I thought was excellent today from the meeting last night, carrying it to the field this morning. And so excited to see these guys the next couple of days. This is a great opportunity for them to, get in here and to learn some more one-on-one with their coaches, for the coaches to teach and get these guys ready when the vets come.
Where's Gibson right now in his development?
He's coming along. He's by no means, I think, where he wants to be or where we want him to be, but he's learning our system. He's learning a new offense, and he understands his role. He knows he's got to really come in here and compete for an opportunity, and I'm excited about watching him, especially when we get into pads and see the physicality, and then again, he's a speed guy, and again, looking forward to watching him use that speed as we go.
Coaches, drops at all? I mean, it's early in OTAs and
I'm not. I know he had OTAs and one thing, and again, he's learning. It's just like Carson a year ago. Just kind of learning the whole system and not concerned with that. It's something that he's focusing on and utilizing the jugs machines after practice and can't get enough touches on the football.
Coach, is it point that Jordan won't be ready to play with Packers by a preseason game or the start of the season?
As of right now, I don't anticipate that. Again, it's something that we just got to continue to monitor with our doctors and Pederson, our trainer, and just make sure he's 100%.
Coach, there's reports that rugby star Adam Zaruba is trying out for the team. Anything you can tell me about him?
Well, again, had a workout, which we continue to do. We continue to bring guys in, work them out, and see where they're at. And that's about all right now.
Coach, you came here, we got Carson Wentz here last year, came in as the third guy and earning the ropes here. Can you tell us just about the growth and development you see from a guy who showed up here today since last year?
Carson and I, without getting into a bunch of our personal conversations, he came in the right frame of mind. He's actually, last year at this time, if you recall, he had played a ton of football in college, Senior Bowl, Combine, all the workouts, getting ready for camp, OTAs, the whole thing. He played a lot of football. Never really had an off season last year. But as he comes into this camp, he's refreshed, he's rejuvenated, he's eager, he's ready to go. He's got the best thing, I think, that he and I going into year 2 is that he played 16 games last year, and that's the exciting thing about it. He's a year experience now in this league, and those are things that we can build on, and he's so excited for the season. Looking forward to obviously when the vets get in here, but it's a tribute to him and Nick and even Matt, veteran quarterbacks who have started in this league to come and be with these rookies for the next couple of days.
He's also around working out a little on the side. I know he's on the NFI right now, but where is he in terms of his recovery? Is he where you expected him to be?
Again, he's another one that we're going to continue to monitor, continue to, again, make sure that he's 100% before we stick him back out on the field. He has been conditioning and getting himself ready to go, but at the same time, we're going to make sure that he's 100% healthy before we put it back out. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's gonna be week 1, but at the same time, it's day by day.
Why was it important to go from Chase to Nick at that spot, and what has Nick shown you throughout the spring, and what do you want to see from him this summer?
Well, I think it's important you have that veteran presence, veteran quarterback as a backup. Obviously I was there at one point, in my career, and I think it's just a valuable guy, even Matt McGloin, who's a veteran quarterback who's played in this league, and Nick is very familiar with our offense, having come from Kansas City, so a lot of the terminology is the same. And he's I mean, just like Chase last year, Nick is that he's got the right personality, he's got the right demeanor for Carson. He's a teacher, he's a leader on the field that way. He's a motivator, and he's a great example for Carson to look to for a lot of answers.
You had 3 live sessions, or tackle to the ground sessions. Yeah. In this camp, do you have the first one now down? You have the date when that first one will be?
I believe it's next. It's August 1st. I think it's next Wednesday. Is that August 1st? Tuesday, so it's...
I'll get back to you.
We'll get back. It's next week sometime. It's like one, then there's a day, and then there's another one. So I think they're both next week.
Doug, really quick, this is year 2 for you. How much more comfortable do you feel being in training camp?
Again, a lot like Carson, from the standpoint of last year, even all of the offseason was about establishing your staff and getting your staff hired to putting in an offense, a defense, and special teams, and making sure the schedules are right, and learning your roster, and you're just going, and in year 2, with all of that being established, now it's about just managing that roster and going out and finding guys that you can add to it and creating the competition that we talk about, and so it's it's exciting for me even going into year 2 with a little more of that freshness, rejuvenation, sort of that pressure, that load is off of me. That's established, and now we can really focus on the football. And it really frees me up to spend a lot more time with Schwartz on defense and learn and understand game plans that way, and also with Dave Phipp on special teams.
All right. So that pretty much wraps things up on the Doug Pederson press conference from earlier this week. We'll take a moment here, digest it, and be back on the other side. Some takeaways from what Doug Pederson had to say, beginning with training camp week here on the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back after this.
Hi there, I'm Hank Hill. Well, I'd like to tell you what Strickland can do to meet your energy needs. You see, at Strickland, the customer comes first. It's kind of interesting. The word customer begins with C-U. Well, we don't see you as just another sale, but as a member of our team. I thought you might enjoy 7.5 gallons of pure premium propane. Strickland Propane, the customer comes first.
Attention parents. Is your under 18-year-old daughter being cyberstalked by a man who identifies themselves as a grown adult male?
I want to meet you and fool around. Are you up to meeting tonight, hon? I think I would like to shower with you. We can do it in the shower, too.
If so, you need to contact Chris Hansen Company to bust these online cyberstalkers.
How are you tonight? Why don't you have a seat there and get comfortable for that?
I guess you're going to tell me next that this is the very first time you've done something like this.
Chris Hansen and the Dateline crew will take care of it. Contact us, and we will put an end to the cyber-stalking that your daughter is experiencing.
Well, there's something you got to know. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Busted!
And we're back on the Tyler Werner Show on this first training camp edition. As the Eagles are getting back in the swing of things, just listen to Doug Pederson. I'm going to talk about some takeaways from his press conference in just a moment. But actually, we're going to do a little something. We're going to bring something back on the Tyler Werner Show we haven't done in a little while, called the Tyler Werner Show Call Out of the Week.
It's time for Tyler Werner's Call Out of the Week.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all. What's the matter with you?
Loser! You're a loser!
Are you kidding me? Well, I have a microphone, and you don't. So you will listen to every word I have to say!
And not for nothing, but we're going to call out the Dallas Cowboys organization. I know. People out there probably especially Cowboy fans. But look, for all the indisciplined guys that they've had on this team, I mean, obviously there's perhaps suspensions pending for Ezekiel Elliott in sexual assault charges. This is a team that was really hesitant to do anything with Greg Hardy a few years ago, and when really they should have just suspended him. Not even. I mean, who even has a player like that on your team with that kind of issue, who clearly shouldn't be out on the field? But now the Cowboys, with this Lucky Whitehead situation, is what we're going to call them out on. And what's even a little more mind-boggling is that on SB Nation, there's this article that came out like, oh, the Cowboys still handled the situation the right way. And to me, it doesn't add up. For obviously, what happened was Lucky Whitehead was allegedly caught shoplifting. Supposedly there were, and then missing his court date on top of that. So the Cowboys cut him. And then it comes out that he was exonerated from any wrongdoing. Basically, what happened was there was an impersonator. Yeah, Lucky Whitehead impersonator out there who committed this shoplifting. And it's mind-boggling that they got it wrong like this initially, but that's ultimately what happened. Lucky Whitehead had an impersonator that did the shoplifting. Now, after some speculation about whether Whitehead would then return to the Cowboys, that was quashed when Whitehead and his agent made it clear that they wouldn't want to return to Dallas. And I can't blame them after that. And the Cowboys also made it clear they were moving on. Apparently, reports this afternoon is that the Jets have claimed Lucky off of waivers, so, I guess good luck with the Jets. Now I don't understand how this article could say that. Like, the article here, SB Nation says, it may feel like Lucky got the shaft on this and that the Cowboys look stupid about how they handled this, but let's look at this and take it for what it is. First off, Lucky has been a problem. Last year he was deactivated from the game against the New York Giants for being late to team meetings. The Cowboys may be in the news for a lot of things involving poor decisions of their players, but it's a rarity that they take matters in their own hands and discipline a player publicly. But they did last season with Lucky. Some say this most recent event was the straw that broke the camel's back, but yada yada yada. Yeah, and then it talks about they wanted Dak Prescott to explain himself with his DUI incident, and that Dak passed this test, and Lucky didn't. And look, I mean, Lucky, he's a marginal player here. But, see, and they're sitting like, they're building up like Lucky Whitehead has been a problem that, it's, there are other incidences, or other incidents that warranted his release. Well, something that he didn't even do here, which is basically the final straw. Like, it's not even, he didn't even do it. He was cut because of this incident, because some impersonator did this. So, maybe he did some things in the past, but the Cowboys look like idiots here because they released him, or cut him, after this particular incident, which had nothing to do with him. It was an impersonator.
That's a violation.
So, again, with the Cowboys and their player, like I don't know. It's just mind-boggling how the Cowboys can screw this up in a way. Like, if there were other incidences in the past... Why do I keep saying incidences? That's not a word.
That's a violation.
If there were other incidents in the past worth releasing, then maybe they should have done that earlier if they felt that was the case. Here they do it when he didn't do anything. It was an impersonation, so they look foolish. I don't know. Let's get, cut him. But no, a couple years ago, Greg Hart. I know Greg Hardy was talented or whatever, but come on. It doesn't matter how good a player is to me. I mean, you have someone like that. They shouldn't even be allowed to play football in the first place. At the end of the day, it's kind of a privilege to play in the NFL, as far as I'm concerned. Cowboys a little inconsistent in how they discipline players.
I agree.
All right. So before we wrap things, let's head back to Doug Pederson. Again, as far as stories are concerned, as we head into this 2017 Eagles season, I almost said 2016, it's 2017, time is flying. Number one story is obviously the development of Carson Wentz. I think it's safe to say he is the most important part of this football team, the quarterback, and whether or not he can be a franchise quarterback. And I think he's got the tools. Doug Pederson, probably story number two. Maybe go down the list a little bit here of kind of things, stories headed in this season, stories that are going to be stories throughout the season in a sense. Maybe number three is perhaps Fletcher Cox. And whether or not he lives up to that $100 million contract.
He wants your money!
Well, that remains to be seen. Maybe, besides that, I don't know, Jim Schwartz or how do the Eagles fare at cornerback? How do they make up for that? What kind of years Alshon Jeffrey have? Definitely a lot of stories. Number one and 1A here, though, to me is kind of Doug Pederson in conjunction with Carson Wentz's development. Because again, there's like some variables at work here. Doug Pederson said last week, this team has more talent than the Green Bay Packers of the 90s that went to win a Super Bowl with Brett Favre. And whether or not that's okay. Whether or not that's meant to be like a motivation for the players, I don't know. But he kind of puts a big target on his back by saying something like that. There's no room for error. I mean, you could argue, well, if he says that, then by that logic, they should win 12 games or more. And then go on and perhaps be a Super Bowl contender this year. A shoe-in, almost. But, realistically, we can't expect that. But what Doug Pederson has set himself up for is that, well, if they finish 7-9, maybe even 8-8, depending on how things look, he's fired. It'd be as simple as that. Because, again, if if they are that talented and yet they don't live up to that talent, then you just look like a fool. Having said that, and it looks like his fault more than anybody's fault, and something worth getting, fired for. But I do gotta say, despite saying that last week, I was somewhat impressed with how Doug Pederson conducted himself in this press conference. He seemed more concise, more control. He stood up for himself a little more. This is like a different Doug than what we were used to last year, where it seemed, it seemed like he'd bend over backwards for the media. Some takeaways. Number one, Doug Pederson believes the most recent offseason has served Wentz well. I mean, we went through that press conference in the last segment, and Doug said he's refreshed, he's rejuvenated, he's eager, he's ready to go. And last year, Wentz never got a chance to rest between his college season last year and the start of the 2016 NFL season, where it was like a whirlwind for him. But Pederson believes rest this offseason should yield a better version of the signal caller. And kind of some a little bit of news breaking here. Couple bits of news actually in the Eagles have released guard tackle Alan Barber. I believe. Actually, I thought I saw a report that he was getting traded for a conditional pick to the Broncos. At least what I saw last. Oh, and Marcus Smith is gone too. He was released as well. For those who didn't hear, not like anybody's really gonna miss him.
I agree.
Really at all. As a matter of fact, Marcus Smith gets one. Yeah, because what did he ever do here? All right. So anyhow, yeah, the Eagles making a couple moves. Perhaps Ryan Matthews is on the pecking order for that soon. Getting shipped out of here. Anyhow, getting back to the takeaways here. Yeah, Doug Pederson mentioned Jordan Hicks will be limited, but there's no reason for a ton of concern. Jordan Hicks, again, a few weeks ago, we were going over secret superstars for each team, and Jordan Hicks was the supposed secret superstar. I won't argue he's going to, he's much of a secret, but again, this kind of echoes a lot of what we've already heard. Broken hand during his honeymoon. It was a minor procedure, nothing to be worried about. He's not expected to miss any preseason games or the start of the regular season. So that's good. Hopefully he can stay healthy this year. Been somewhat plagued by an injury bug, it seems. And he's a key part of this defense going forward. So, all right, number 3 takeaway here. Jordan Matthews seems to be fine despite the knee injury. And again, this is where Doug Pederson, he didn't go into much detail. He's kind of saying he's, I'm not really much of a medical guy, and yada yada. You'll have to ask the medical team. I'm not a medical guy. Yada yada. Kind of where he's, standing his own ground or whatever. He didn't anticipate, though, that he won't be ready for the start of the 2017 NFL season. He just didn't really say specifically what it was. Number 4 takeaway here. Defensive tackle Bo Allen is day-to-day. Along with cornerbacks Dwayne Gratz and Sidney Jones. They were placed on the non-football injury list. Pederson said the same thing about all of them, as well as Matthews. Team will monitor each one daily and individually, and there will also be no plans to rush them back to the field of play. So Bo Allen day-to-day. And lastly, as a result of what's going on at the cornerback position, team is expecting a lot from veteran Ron Brooks. Brooks will go into camp as a nickel corner. His addition to the team is largely due to his relationship with defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. The hope is he plays a large role in the team's success this season. While cornerback, the Eagles are one of the worst in the league when it comes to the cornerback position. So the hope is he plays a large role in the team's successes. Well, because that is like the weakest spot on this Eagles team. They went cornerback in the draft, but it's one of those things. We're gonna have to wait, really, for these young corners to really play and see how they pan out. Sidney Jones, the risk there with the Achilles injury and whatever, I don't know. It's at the end of the day, as far as guys ready to play at cornerback, the Eagles, that is the weakest spot of the defense. And perhaps another reason why we can expect a lot of shootouts this year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Doug also discussed the comments about comparing his Eagles team to the Green Bay Packers teams of the 90s. Pederson said, did you read the entire quote? He said, championship teams aren't only forged by talent. Chemistry, leadership, and coaching play a large part in the outcome as well. Not much was discussed in terms of roster positioning, but as Pederson stated, there's only been one practice. There's a lot that has to be ironed out prior to September 10th. So, Doug Pederson, did you read the entire quote? And again, Doug Pederson was getting a little feisty in a way. And in some ways, he almost sounded a little annoyed in a sense.
Come on, that's terrible!
Maybe not that annoyed, but again, Pederson's saying championship teams aren't only forged by talent. Chemistry, leadership, and coaching play a large part in the outcome as well. A key word for Doug, coaching. And chemistry, leadership, that certainly comes with coaching. And playing a large part in the outcome. So again, that goes back to what I was saying. If this Packers team, he's basically, I don't even know if he realizes it or not, but he's basically really putting the microscope on him. Or whatever you want to call it. By saying that. This team is that talented. Then the coaching and the leadership and the chemistry have to back up that talent. So there you have it. That's kind of like a way to preface this season. This season for Doug Pederson. Because if this Eagles team underachieves, we're going to be calling for Doug Pederson's head. It's as simple as that. And I don't know, maybe that... I don't know if last season, if maybe that's kind of shifted his attitude a little bit more in this, like the way he handled himself in this press conference. Is that a sign of things to come? Like, I don't know. Did we get to Doug Pederson a little bit last year? I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna keep loving on him. And
yeah, I don't know. I wasn't getting that kind of vibe out of this press conference. We'll come back next week. It's time to wrap things up on the Tyler Werner Show. We'll see what nuggets we have next week to share as training camp rolls on and Eagles back in the full swing. Thursday is when everybody begins reporting to training camp. So we shall look forward to that. We'll talk to everybody next time on the Tyler Werner Show. Everybody have a great week. And I know it's only training camp, but hey, fly Eagles, fly.